Kenny Povey here with Gardening Simplified. It's March 19th, 2020. I'm going to give a little update as far as where we're setting on some of the things in the earlier videos. I had planned to put out my sweet potatoes and my bell peppers and jalapeno peppers, and that's kind of been delayed, but I'll show you where we're at. As you can see, the sweet potato slips, they're still growing and taking over. The jalapeno peppers are they're doing really good. As you can see, they want to get out in the garden, but I'm going to tell you about why it isn't happening yet. The reason they're not being put out yet. Now, I have a lot of stuff that's growing here. You know, everything's doing good, and it's doing good in its own time. Now, most of you that's been gardening for a while, you're familiar with frost-free dates and things like that. Now, that is important, and a lot of times as gardeners, and we want to get our vegetables up early, we tend to try to approximate when the last frost-free date's going to be. And the thing about tomatoes, now they don't like frost either, and I'm not really worried about the frost, but with sweet potatoes and pepper plants, they don't like temperatures below 50 degrees. And so this Friday, or this Saturday and Sunday, I think it is, we're going to be down in the 40s one day and right at 50 one day, and there's no sense in not waiting just a few days to put these out to have them damaged and in a way that they're going to be stunted. I know last year we put the sweet potatoes out a little early. They did get hit just a little bit. They came back and they did good, but you've got to realize, watching these dates, you know, Google and find out what your planting times are. And even though it says a certain time, watch your dates and understand your plants that you're planting. Now, the tomatoes, which we put them out and they're looking super good. I happened to round up a bunch of old tomato baskets that I had. Now, these baskets are made out of concrete reinforcement wire, and these were made probably 25 years ago. And as you can see, this holds up real good. If you're going to buy them now, back when I bought this, it was closer to $60 for a 150-foot roll. Now it's $160 for a 150-foot roll. So you know the change, but realize these things last. Well, these, like I say, these are 25 years old. As long as you don't have them where they're setting in the ground, I just stack them up, and even though we have kind of an acid soil, it doesn't eat them up. They hold up real good. So if you're looking for something, you can build these baskets roughly about, it's about $3 a basket if you're buying a roll of that. We were going to stake them all with bamboo, and then I realized I had a bunch of these stuck somewhere that I'd forgotten about, so we took and used the ones that we had. But with this bamboo, now we go ahead and we string a wire. We set T-posts at every so far, and we string a wire and we tie these to that. That way these things have no movement as far as wanting to slide or fall over. You could dig holes and put your bamboo deeper in the ground, but just trying to drive it in, it's not going to go very deep in this soil. So this is the best way. It's about 6 inches in the bottom, which keeps it solid, and this guide wire keeps them where they'll withstand the winds, because we're sitting on top of the hill where we're at in this area, and we get some pretty good winds. And when you get a full loaded tomato plant with these, even with these cages with little barbed feet that stick in the ground a little bit, they still fall over. So we do that even with our baskets, and then we'll tie them off so they don't want to move and slide if it comes from a different angle. I have 4 baskets over here. I still have my cherry tomato plants. I haven't put them out. I have my T-post set up and my baskets ready for them, but they're big enough, but because of using the old peat moss, it was dried out and it would never soak water, it kind of root bound the plants. So what I did was tried to separate all that material off and then put them in new perlite peat moss mix and see if we couldn't get better roots on them, instead of trying to put them out here where they're more to the elements, and they definitely need a good root system to grow. So there's no sense in, if you know you got a problem, don't waste your time. See if you can correct the problem first. These bunching onions or multiplying onions, whichever what name you want to use, and of course the bees are happy to see them here. And I'm glad to see a bunch of bees this year because all the fruit trees are in bloom, and I'm hoping to get a better setting on fruit. But these bunching onions, when they get like this and you can see them all going to seed, that's part of their cycle. What they'll do is they'll go to seed in late winter or early spring, and then that's whenever they'll put on their new onions. You'll have a once it comes up, you'll have a big gob of onions come up from where that was, because they all start coming out bunching with new ones, and then that's the ones you'll start using for your season. These updates are intended to aid you in the gardening process. Now I'm in northeast Texas, and this same information can be used all over the U.S. In fact, probably all over the world. You just have to adapt it for your areas. If you have a shorter growing season, you might have to use different plants or use different times for planting them, because the growth rate, some plants that we would use here in East Texas, because we have a long growing season, you might not want to use in some of the northern areas. So check for varieties that do well in your area. A lot of times I use varieties that are made more for northern climates, but sometimes they don't do as well in the south here. Also, I'll keep doing these updates. It's a good way for you to kind of get an idea of the time period that it takes for plants to grow. It's not like most of you know that they don't just pop out of the ground and end up bearing fruit, in just a short time. It's a long process. It's easier if you take care of your plants like they need to. A lot of times, for convenience, I don't take some of the necessary steps. When you're doing a small garden, you might want to do certain things so you ensure that you have a better crop because you have fewer plants. With me, I've got such a large area that, and I'm just growing for my family, so I don't have to worry about if I have a plant that doesn't produce as well, because I'm not restricted to a small area. But there's certain things that you can do, and I'll do a few more of those this year just to give you extra information for the smaller gardener that's got a small plot, so that they'll raise a good hardy crop. But if you like this video, you can get notified. Just hit like and subscribe. You can find Gardening Simplified on Facebook. I've got a page set up there, and it gets a few other updates that you wouldn't with YouTube. But if you are watching on YouTube, just hit like, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified. And as always, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll get back with you. And happy gardening.